Today we are beginning Adobe Photoshop. The purpose of this lecture is to go over the tools and complete a project from beginning to end. So when you open Photoshop, you go to your Adobe Cloud. After you download it and install the app, make sure you open it. And when you open it, you have a couple of options. Either you're going to start a new file, meaning you're going to begin a new project, or you're going to open a recent project or bring in a photo. This is what we're going to do for today. Since we are going to work on the tools, I'm going to click on open here, and I have a folder on my desktop that says Photoshop. I'll select this picture right there, and then I'll hit open. Make sure you're working with the JPEG format, and make sure your picture is high in resolution, which means it's a good high quality. So here it is. Here's my picture. Now, before we go onto working on the picture, you probably are already feeling confused, thinking what in the world Photoshop looks like. So let me make sure that I introduce you to what you're seeing on the screen first. This menu on the far left side, it's the tools menu or the tools bar. Anytime you click on a tool, you will see that this menu on top changes, or it adjusts based on the tool that you're clicked on. So this menu on top, it's called the options menu, which means any tool you're clicked on here provides or gives you additional options that you can work with. The picture is placed on the application frame menu, and then the menu on the far right now we're under layers. It's very important for you to understand that when we're working in Photoshop, we're working in layers. It's almost like painting a large picture and you keep painting on top of each other. Now this picture right now, it's the background and it says that it's locked. So I'm going to click on this lock to unlock it. If you open Photoshop and your screen doesn't look exactly like mine, it's probably because one of the menus has not been accessed. So make sure under window, when you click on window right there, make sure that you have layers, application frame, the options menu, and the tools menu. This right here is the image that I have, and it's an Adobe stock image, so it's a free image that I can work with. Okay, now let's begin with the first tool. The first tool, if you place your cursor on top of it, you're actually going to get a name of it, and Photoshop will explain to you what it does. So this is the move tool, and obviously it moves a selection or a layer. So I'm going to click on it and I will see you what happens. I'll bring my cursor on top of the picture, click and drag, and nothing happens until you see how the picture moved and you can see the pixels there. So this is the move tool. The move tool moves things or objects within a picture. The next tool right here is the elliptical marquee tool, or the marquee tool in general. Now there's a little trick. You see at the bottom of each tool, or most of them, there's a little arrow. When you do a right click, that tool pops up and it gives you additional options of the same thing. Okay, so it's basically the same tool except it's a different shape, or maybe it does things a little bit differently. So let me click on the rectangular marquee tool and look what it does. I'm gonna click, drag, let go, and now I've only selected her face. So her body and part of her hand are outside of my selection. Now to show you what the combination of the marquee tool and the move tool do together, let me check it out. Click on the move tool, now click, drag, let go. So you see the marquee tool selected portions of my visual, and the move tool obviously moved it. Now the way I went back, I just did Command Z. So remember, you can do Command Z to go back as many times as you'd prefer. The next tool, the third one, is called the lasso tool. So when you click on the lasso tool, it's basically the marquee tool but as a more advanced feature. So lasso tool allows you to manually go around and select whatever shape you need to select. Now with the lasso tool, you have to be very, very careful. You see, I'm already messing up a little bit, but that's okay. Now, why do you have to be very careful? Because when you start a selection, you gotta close it. So I'm gonna stop right there, because if you don't close it, check it out what happens. Photoshop is going to close it automatically for you, but it's not necessarily going to close it exactly based on the shape that you're looking for. So now let's click on the move tool and let's move it out. So that's what this does. Command Z to go back, Command Z to go back again, and we're back to the initial phase of the picture. Now the next tool is called the crop tool, and the crop tool does exactly what it says. It crops things. So I clicked on it, and then whatever piece of the image I don't need, I'm just gonna drag it in and out, crop it. If I like the crop, I'm just gonna hit the return key on my computer, and I'm good to go. I got rid of some things that I didn't need. Now, one very important detail here, anytime you want to crop something, make sure you unselect the delete cropped pixels right here. Usually by default this is selected. I have mine unselected because I do crop a lot on my computer, on my desktop. So make sure to unselect it so it doesn't delete or it doesn't crop the pixels as well. It only crops the size of your image. The next tool is the frame tool, and the frame tool is a new tool that Photoshop added recently. Basically what you're doing is you're designing a frame, and then you can fill that frame with a different object. So it's quite interesting how the tool works. We are not going to use it for this project more than sure, but you can practice with it. Just what I would suggest is go bring another picture and place it on top. Okay, Command Z to go back. The next tool is called the eyedropper tool, and the eyedropper eyedrops or selects colors. So let's say I want to click on this tool and then I want to eyedrop the color of her lips. I'm gonna click there, and when I did, if you check out at the very bottom of your tools menu, I'm right here, there is a color. So there's basically two colors, top and bottom. The top color was adjusted based on her color lips. Now look, I'm gonna click again on just the background. Check it out, you see it's white. Let me check the hair, and you see how that box there changes based on the eyedropper tool. So the eyedropper tool selects a certain color and memorizes it, and then it adds it within your tools menu or within your color swatches. It looks like I have missed a tool right here, the quick selection tool, which is one of the most important ones. I don't know how in the world I missed it, but let's get back to it. So when you click on the quick selection tool, basically the quick selection tool is an advanced lasso and marquee tool combined together. But this is what it does. The quick selection is able to select a large portion of your picture or of the subject within your picture based on the color pixels. So it's a little weird how it works, but it's an incredible tool. So take note, make sure to remember that the quick selection tool is going to be something you will work with. Now, the moment I look at it, you see I have it on my image, and I see that this little circle is really tiny. So that tells me that the size of my tool is small. How do I know this is the size? Remember, I told you that anytime you click on a tool within the tools menu, the options menu adjusts. So right now I have the plus sign within my options menu, which means I'm going to add to the selection. Anytime I want to subtract or remove something from the selection, I gotta make sure I'm clicked on the minus. And if I want to adjust the size of a tool, I'm just gonna click there, bring it up, and you see how my circle now is a whole lot larger. So look what this tool does. Start from a corner. I'm gonna start probably with her hair right here, and I am moving my tool around, and it does the selection for me. Look how interesting. It's just an incredible tool, guys. Now, why would you need this tool for? You're going to need it whenever you're going to design the first project for me. So first project, you will have to do a magazine cover. Now you see I also selected this part right here, and if I want to get rid of this selection, I either click on the minus tool and then bring my quick selection tool inside until it's selected, or I hold the finger on the option key. Check it out. Anytime you click on the option key, your tools gets a different sign. So here's the plus sign, option key minus. You see? Minus plus. So option key does the opposite of that same tool. So basically now I selected this. If I want to move this subject, I'm going to click on the move tool, and it gets the scissors in, and that's what my selection would look like. Now obviously I need to work on it and fix those edges, but that's for a different video. I will show you how to do that. For now, let's just move on with the tools. After Command Z, let's go back to Command Z. Okay, so we covered the eyedropper tool. Now let's go on to the spot healing brush tool. This is really a cool tool that we can utilize. When I clicked on it, it says you could not complete your request because no layers are selected. So let's hit OK, and let's select my layer. Make sure you select the layer that you want to work in. click on the tool, on the spot healing brush tool, and let's say I want to zoom in and I want to remove some of these marks that she has on her skin. So check it out. I click on them and you see how they basically go away. So this tool is to help you fix detailed or small things on the picture that you don't like. So there it goes. If there is maybe a scratch or there's something on the face, or maybe the picture was old and it was bended and now you would like to fix that, that's the perfect tool that can help you do that. Let's zoom out. The next tool is the brush tool, and the brush tool brushes things out. So let me click on the regular brush here because I have one that's special. I have the soft, you see, check it out. This is what the brush tool does, and it remembers the very last color you were clicked on. So if I want to change the color, I'm just going to click on it, pick a different color, hit OK, and then check it out. So it basically brushes, or it adds color onto the picture or an object that you need to work on. The next tool is called the clone stamp tool, but before we go there, let me get rid of my brushes because this next tool is one that my students really love. So the clone stamp tool, it clones things within an object and then it basically duplicates it. Now if I want to clone it, this is actually the only tool within your tools palette that is a little bit more peculiar. You have to define the exact space or the exact spot on the picture that you want to clone. So hold your finger on the option key to define it. So you see now my clone tool changed. So I'm just dragging it around a little bit, let go, and then check it out. Click and move your cursor around. Look how nice. What do you think? That's one of the favorite tools that my students love to play with. So basically you can clone something as many times as you'd prefer. The next tool is quite of an interesting one because what it does, it gets rid of a brush that you have used. So the clone tool is actually a brush. Now the size of my tool is small. So if I were to ask you how do I adjust the size, I hope you're responding back to me. You go to the options menu and you adjust the size right there. So you see now I have a much larger size. I'm going to make it even larger and check it out. So what this tool does, it gets rid of a brush. It does not touch the picture itself. Look, I'm going to drag it on the picture, but nothing happens. It only gets rid of the brush that I have used. It doesn't hurt the picture at all. Why is that important? Because the next tool, the eraser tool, does exactly the opposite. So check it out. I'm going to click on the eraser tool. Let me adjust the size in my options menu. And look, when I use the eraser tool, it erases everything until the pixels layer. So you see, it's quite interesting. You can use the eraser tool from time to time, and hopefully by playing with Photoshop more, you will be able to figure out how or when. The next tool is the gradient tool, and the gradient tool is an incredible tool that you can potentially use because it creates a gradients. So if I were to click, drag, let go, check it out. It applied the gradients onto my visual. Let me do Command Z. And I will show you in a second how we can use the gradients again. But basically, if you have an object that you would like to have a gradients of colors, that's the tool you will click on. The next tool is the sharpen tool, and the sharpen tool, it sharpens or it adds more clarity to a certain spot on the picture. So let me sharpen her eye. I'm gonna drag. You see, I'm moving my cursor and you see how her eye gets a whole lot sharpened. Now, if you were to click within the tool, since I told you that if you were to click within the tool, you will find similar functions of the tool. And if you were to click on the blur tool, it does exactly the opposite. So it blurs the spot. Now, I hope you can see that on your screen. Let me do Command Z. Oh, I did Command Z a little bit too many times. So let me click on my history brush tool. Okay, let me show you a little trick here. Let me click on the eraser tool, and you see eraser tool deletes not only the brush, but it also erases the background. So that's the big difference between the brush tool and the eraser tool. Okay, so let me get rid of this. Give me just one moment. It would be great if you would just take the picture. I will upload this picture on Canvas. So take the picture and play with it alongside me. Photoshop is not an easy app that you can figure out on your own. So the more practice and the more just playing with it, the better. The next tool is the burn tool, and the burn tool adds a little bit of sunburn or a little bit of color, sunbathe I would call it. So you can click in, make it larger, decide on whichever shape you would need it. So look, I'm just adding a little bit of color on her cheeks. Usually this tool is used on cheeks, a little nose, and on the forehead. Now the same tool that's under it, the dodge tool, does exactly the opposite. It adds more light, so you add a little bit more light under the eyes. Usually you use this tool basically for portraits, but since this is a stock image and I think it looks great, I'm not gonna touch it. The pen tool you're not going to use for sure. It's basically something like the lasso and the marquee tool, except you have a little bit more power to decide on the shape of this tool, but it's also a bit difficult to work with. Quite honestly, I have never used this tool and I doubt I will use it again. The type tool is one we are going to work with a lot. And you see I clicked on the type tool. You can type horizontally or vertically. Basically, one thing I want you to remember is that anytime you use the type tool, there's a new layer that's going to pop up within your layers menu. So check out. There's layer 0 with my visual, and then there's the first layer. Now, if I were to type inside this layer, let me double click inside and type Command A. Give my computer a second. There it goes. So there are the letters. The options menu is going to allow me to manipulate. I can change the color of this text. We're going to spend a little bit more time on this in the future, in the upcoming video, but for now that's what I wanted to show you. So let's say I want to move the text tool. You see, I click, drag, and I move the location of it on the page, wherever I want to move it. The next tool is the path selection tool. And it's basically, it allows you to select a path and then manipulate it, play with it. You can click on it and see what it does. The one I want to focus on is the rectangle tool, and it's the last one we're going to cover. I know the video is getting a little long and I just don't want to have it way too long. So you click, drag, let go, and there's the rectangle. The options menu, you see you can fill this rectangle with a different color. If you don't like any of those colors, you can select something a little bit more general right there. Or you can even click on your eyedropper tool and eyedrop a color, and then click back on your rectangle tool, and under the fill, you see it's the last color that it remembered. So right there, it's a really, really cool tool. Okay, these were the tools for Adobe Photoshop. I will now come back with a new video that's going to show you how to work with a picture and how to start a new project. See you in a minute.